You often switch over from mind to brain. Is there any difference between them? If so, what is the mind? You often switch over from mind to brain. Is there any difference between them? If so, what is the mind? I'm afraid it's a slip of the tongue. That is, I've often said, the mind and the brain. So the gentleman, the questioner says, what is the mind? Why do you switch over from one word to the other? And I apologize for that because it's a slip of the tongue. I'm only talking about the brain. Questioner wants to know what's the mind. Is the mind different from the brain? Is the mind something untouched by the brain? Is the mind not the result of time, as the brain is? You're following all this? This is interests you. All right, let's go into it. First of all, to understand what the mind is, we must be very clear how our brain operates as much as possible. Not according to the brain specialists, according to the neurologists, according to those who have studied a great deal about the brains of rats and pigeons and all that. But we are studying, each one of us, if we are willing, the nature of our own brain. How we think, what we think, how we act, what's our behavior, what are the immediate, spontaneous, instant responses. Are we aware of that? Are we aware that our thinking is extraordinarily along a narrow groove? Are we aware that our thinking is mechanical, along a certain particular trained activity? How our education has conditioned our thinking? How our careers, whether it's bureaucratic engineering or surgical and so on, are they not all of it a directional, conditioned knowledge? Are we aware of all this? How the brain, with its thought, and the scientists now are saying, thought is the excrescence of memory, of the mind, of the brain, which is experience, knowledge, memory, thought, action. They're gradually coming to that, about which we have been talking endlessly at the beginning. The thought is a material process. There is nothing sacred about thought. And whatever thought creates, whether mechanically or idealistically, or projecting a future in the hope of reaching some kind of happiness, peace, or all the movement of thought. Are we aware of all this? That when we go to a temple, it's nothing but a material process. You mightn't like to hear that, but that's the fact. Thought has created the architecture and the thing that's put inside the building, the temple, the mosque, the church. They're all the result of thought. Are we really aware of it and therefore move totally in a different direction? That tradition, when we accept tradition, it makes the mind extraordinarily dull. Just repeat it, very convenient. So gradually the brain becomes dull, stupid, routine. You can read endlessly Gita or talk about the book and what. This is what's happening when in the world there is so much uncertainty, so much pain, so much disorder, chaos. You turn to tradition. That's what's happening both in the West and in the East. They're becoming more and more fanatical, worshipping local deities, and so on. Are we aware of this? And can we stop all that in yourself? Oh, we are so dull, so used to this confusion, misery, we put up with it. So we have to understand very clearly what the activity of the brain, which is the activity of our consciousness, which is the activity of our psychological world in which we live. The whole of that, the brain, consciousness, psychological, all that is one. Right? Would you question that? Probably you haven't thought even about all this. You see, one reads a great deal about all these matters. If you are a psychologist, if you are a psychoanalyst, if you are therapeutically inclined, and so on, you read a lot. But you never look at yourself, never observe your own actions, your own behavior. So that's why it's very important to understand what the mind is, to understand what the activities of thoughts are, which has created the content of our consciousness and the psychological world in which we live, which is part of thought. The structure which thought has built in man, the me and the not me, the we and they, the quarrels, the battles between ourselves, between each human being. So, and the brain is the evolved through time. That's obvious. Evolved through millennia. millions of years, accumulating knowledge, experience, memory, danger, and so on. It is the result of time. Right? There is no question of argument about it. And is love, compassion, with its intelligence, is that the product of thought? You understand? Is compassion, is love the product, the result, the movement of thought? You understand my question? Can you cultivate love? Please say. I'm afraid that that feeling perhaps doesn't exist in this country. We may read about it, may talk about it. The books talk sometimes about it. But the word is not the thing. So, that which is not of time, which is not the product of thought, which is not the material process, is the mind. Thought, as we pointed out the other day, is in itself disorder. And mind is entirely, absolutely order, like the cosmos, like the universe. But to inquire, to go into that, not to understand the nature of the mind, unless you have understood deeply the nature of the order, the nature of thought, all its activities, comprehend it not verbally in yourself, which means thought realizes its own place. Thought realizes its place in the technological world. When you drive a car, when you speak a language, when you go to the office or to the factory or anything. Skill needs the operation of thought. But when thought realizes its own limitation and its place, then perhaps we can begin to see the nature of the mind.